In this video, we're going to take you through the WordPress tweaks in iThemes security. We're already in the WordPress dashboard looking at iThemes security settings. So from here, we just need to go down to the bottom to where WordPress tweaks start and we can get started. So it just does note, similar to the system tweaks that we've just gone through, that these are some more advanced settings that you may wish to enable, and there could be potential conflicts with plugins and themes. So it's advantageous to change one thing at a time, hit save, and then make sure that your website's still behaving exactly as you would expect it to behave. The first setting that we have, and it's enabled by default, is removing the WordPress generator meta tag. So what this will do is stop WordPress from outputting anything in the HTML that shows to the general public what version of WordPress you're running. It's not super useful in the sense that it won't actually make your site wildly more secure. People can still find out what version of WordPress you're running if they know how to, but it's definitely something that could be useful for stopping the less knowledgeable and less experienced attackers from getting more information about your website. The next setting that's also turned on by default is removing the Windows Live Writer header. So unless you're actually using that particular piece of software to write your blog posts, it's absolutely fine to turn that off and make sure it's removed. But then again, it is also turned on by default. So there's very few people that use Windows Live Writer anyway. But if you do want to use Windows Live Writer and use this plugin, you will need to turn this off. Just below that, we have the edit URI header. So what we can do is remove the RSD header from the website. As it notes, if you don't use an external Xml-Rpc service such as Flickr, or another service which ideally you would know about, if you are, then it's really not useful for you. So you can actually just remove that if you'd like, but it's a very small thing that you can make a change to. Then we just have the ability to reduce comment spam. So that'll just deny the ability for comments to be made by any bots that don't have a referrer or without a user agent that's identifiable. So it's pretty handy to turn that on. Next, you can choose to display a random version of WordPress. So wherever WordPress might show that it's running the current version or whatever version you're currently using, this will display something completely random. You can turn it on if you want. It's perhaps useful for you depending on your website, but in a general sense, not something that's going to be wildly useful for you. The next setting is to disable the file editor. So if you're new to WordPress, you may not know that here in the dashboard, we can actually edit files of themes and plugins directly. It's not the best way to do it, but it can help you get out of a tricky situation. For instance, if you don't have the FTP details of your website or you can't log into your web host's dashboard. So in those instances, you may wish to leave it enabled, but in most cases, it's generally best to disable that file editor because it will stop anyone from editing the files of your WordPress installation through the dashboard that probably shouldn't be doing that anyway. Next, we can choose to disable Xml-Rpc. As it says, it's just a feature that allows WordPress to connect to remote services and is often taken advantage of by attackers or potential would-be attackers. So if you're not actually using any Xml-Rpc services, I strongly suggest disabling them. Next, we can see that it suggests we replace jQuery with a safe version. It's detected that our version is 1.10.2, and that's fine for now. But of course, you can find an error message there if you're using an unfavorable version of jQuery. The next setting is just regarding the login error messages. So this will actually disable error messages from being displayed to a user on a failed login attempt, which it really depends. I mean, it's kind of useful in the sense that it won't provide any information to who's trying to log in, but then it might also be very frustrating to that person as well because they might think they're putting in the correct username and password, but they're not actually getting any feedback whatsoever from WordPress saying what's actually going on. So you can choose to turn that on if you want. I'm going to leave it on because I'm the only person who logged into this website. Next, you can choose to force your users to choose a unique nickname when updating their profile or creating a new account. So it just makes it a little bit harder for bots to take advantage of easily discovered usernames from being found and then exploited. Next, we can choose to disable extra user archives. So if you have any authors in your website and they actually don't have any posts, then it's probably best they don't have an author page on the website because it's not going to be useful for anyone at all. So you want to make sure that's disabled, and that's the default. And of course, when you're done making changes here, click Save All Changes. That brings us to the end of the WordPress Tweaks video for iThemes security. Hopefully it's provided some useful information to you and you've been able to make your website more secure. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask in the comments below.